Welcome to Secret of the Zodiac, the cosmic corner of the internet, where we unravel the mysteries written in the stars above. Today, we're embarking on a journey to understand perhaps the most enigmatic sign of all, Capricorn. Those born under this earth sign have puzzled friends, family, lovers, and colleagues for centuries with their complex nature that seems impossible to fully grasp. I've spent years studying the astrological patterns, observing Capricorns in their natural habitats, and even interviewing hundreds of people born under this powerful sign. What I've discovered is nothing short of fascinating, a constellation of contradictions and hidden depths that make Capricorns the Zodiac's greatest riddle. Before we dive into these cosmic revelations, take a moment to join our stellar community by hitting that subscribe button. Our channel is dedicated to bringing you the most insightful astrological content that goes beyond the surface-level horoscopes you find elsewhere. Every like helps us reach more stargazers like yourself who crave a deeper understanding of the Zodiac's influence. The misunderstanding of Capricorn runs deeper than casual astrology enthusiasts realize. This isn't just about stubborn determination or workaholic tendencies. Those are merely the visible constellations in a vast cosmic sky of personality traits. What lies beneath is a complex emotional universe that few are privileged enough to witness. Imagine wearing a mask so convincing that even those closest to you never quite see what's happening behind it. That's the daily reality for most Capricorns. They navigate the world with a carefully constructed exterior that reveals only what they choose to show, a strategic presentation that serves their long-term goals while protecting their vulnerable inner world. This protection isn't accidental. It's developed over years of experience, often starting in childhood when many Capricorns are forced to mature faster than their peers. The young goat learns quickly that emotional vulnerability can be exploited, that showing weakness might undermine their climb up the mountain of life. So they build walls, not to keep others out entirely, but to ensure only the worthy gain entrance. What makes this particularly fascinating is how Capricorns maintain these boundaries without completely isolating themselves. They create a carefully calibrated distance, close enough to form meaningful connections, but far enough to maintain their sense of security. It's a delicate balance that few other signs could maintain with such precision. The mystery of Capricorn extends to their relationship with time itself. While most of us live primarily in the present with occasional thoughts of the future, Capricorns exist in multiple temporal dimensions simultaneously. They're calculating moves for 10 years from now, while addressing today's challenges, all while learning from historical patterns most would overlook. This time-bending perspective makes them appear eerily prescient to others, adding another layer to their mysterious aura. The misunderstandings accumulate over time. A Capricorn declines social invitations, not because they dislike company, but because they are conserving energy for a major project. They remain quiet in meetings, not from lack of ideas, but because they're analyzing every angle before speaking. They seem unromantic, not from lack of passion, but because their love language is often acts of service and long-term commitment, rather than flowery words or grand gestures. These misinterpretations create a feedback loop. The more Capricorns feel misunderstood, the more they retreat into themselves, further deepening the mystery that surrounds them. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, a cosmic dance of misread signals and missed connections. As we explore the 12 fundamental reasons why Capricorns remain so misunderstood, you'll begin to see patterns emerge. You might recognize these traits in yourself if you're a Capricorn, or in someone close to you born under this sign. Either way, these insights will transform how you perceive the mysterious mountain goat of the Zodiac. Let's begin by examining the first 3 critical reasons why the Capricorn mind remains such an enigma to most. The first revelation comes from understanding the true nature of a Capricorn's emotional world. Imagine an ancient castle with a modest facade, sturdy and functional, nothing particularly remarkable to passers-by. This is how Capricorns present themselves: composed, practical, sometimes even stoic. But what if I told you that behind those unassuming walls lies a vast network of rooms secret passages, and hidden chambers that would rival the most elaborate palaces. Sarah, a Capricorn executive I interviewed last year, shared a story that perfectly illustrates this depth. During a major company crisis, her team marveled at her calm decision-making and unwavering leadership. What they never saw were the nights she spent pacing her apartment, the weight of responsibility pressing on her shoulders, the profound concern she felt for every employee whose livelihood depended on her choices. "I process everything deeply," she confessed. "But I've learned that showing that processing doesn't help anyone. Results help people, not my emotional journey to reaching them." This iceberg phenomenon, showing only 10% while 90% remains beneath the surface, creates the first major misunderstanding. People mistake Capricorn's controlled exterior for emotional simplicity or even coldness, when in reality, they're experiencing complex emotional symphonies they've simply chosen not to broadcast. The Journal of Marcus, another Capricorn subject in our Zodiac study, revealed pages filled with poetry, philosophical musings, and deeply felt reflections, a stark contrast to the pragmatic engineer his colleagues knew. "Sometimes I think no one would recognize the person on these pages," he wrote, "and maybe that's okay. Not everything needs to be shared to be real." The second critical misunderstanding stems from the fascinating contradiction at the heart of every Capricorn, their simultaneous experience of towering ambition alongside private insecurity. Picture a mountain climber scaling seemingly impossible heights, breaking records and achieving feats that astound observers. Now imagine that same climber alone in their tent at night, questioning whether they are worthy of the mountain, whether their achievements matter, whether they'll ever feel they've climbed high enough. This paradox played out vividly in the career of Elena, a Capricorn architect whose designs have transformed city skylines. "Every building completion is followed by this strange emptiness," she revealed during our conversation. "Everyone's celebrating, and I'm already thinking about what I could have done better, what the next project needs to be, whether I've truly proven myself yet." While her colleagues saw unshakable confidence, Elena experienced a perpetual internal questioning that drove her forward but never fully allowed her to enjoy her successes. This creates a particularly painful misunderstanding. Capricorns are often perceived as satisfied or even smug about their achievements, when internally they're their own harshest critics, constantly moving the goalposts of what constitutes enough. Their drive isn't fueled by arrogance, but by a persistent, sometimes exhausting need to prove themselves worthy, often to an internal judge more demanding than any external authority could be. The third misunderstanding arises from the Capricorn's unique brand of humor, so dry and deadpan that it frequently sails over the heads of everyone around them. James, a Capricorn professor, once delivered an entire lecture with a completely straight face about how dragons were the most efficient theoretical model for sustainable public transportation. Half his students submitted serious papers on the topic before realizing it had been an elaborate lesson on critical thinking and source evaluation. "People think I'm serious all the time," explained Diana, a Capricorn legal analyst. "I'll make what I think is an obviously absurd joke, completely deadpan, and then watch as everyone nods along in agreement. Sometimes I don't correct them because it's become my own private entertainment." This creates a peculiar social dynamic where Capricorns are often perceived as humorless, when in reality, they're frequently the funniest person in the room, just operating on a frequency not everyone can tune into. This communication gap extends beyond humor. Capricorns often employ understatement and subtlety in their expressions, a stark contrast to our culture's tendency toward exaggeration and hyperbole. When a Capricorn says something is not bad, they might be offering high praise indeed. Their measured language gets lost in translation in a world where enthusiasm is expected to be loudly proclaimed. What makes these misunderstandings particularly persistent is that Capricorns rarely correct them. There's a strategic patience to how they move through the world. They don't feel an urgent need to be properly understood by everyone they encounter. They're playing a long game, investing their true selves only in relationships they deem worthy of that vulnerability. As we continue to unravel the Capricorn mystery, These first three insights give us just a glimpse into their complex inner landscape, the emotional depth beneath their composed exterior, the ambitious insecurity that drives them forward, and their frequently misinterpreted communication style are just the beginning of understanding this fascinating zodiac sign. And as we're about to discover in our next segment, the misunderstandings run even deeper when we examine how Capricorns approach relationships, control, and their unique balance of tradition and innovation. The misunderstandings run even deeper when we examine how Capricorns approach relationships, control, and their unique balance of tradition and innovation. The fourth critical misunderstanding revolves around perhaps the most persistent Capricorn stereotype, that they're cold, calculating machines who approach decisions with pure logic, untainted by emotional considerations. Nothing could be further from the truth. Behind their measured analysis lies a profound, often unspoken loyalty that drives their decision-making in ways invisible to casual observers. Consider the case of Thomas, a Capricorn financial advisor whose client list had remained virtually unchanged for 20 years. When a high net worth prospect offered to bring substantial business if Thomas would drop a small, less profitable client, his refusal was immediate and non-negotiable. "That small client trusted me when I was nobody," he explained later. "He took a chance on me when I had no track record. There's no spreadsheet calculation that outweighs that kind of loyalty." What appeared to others as Thomas making a poor business decision was actually a demonstration of the hidden value system that guides most Capricorns. They operate with a moral ledger that few people ever get to see. Debts of gratitude, promises kept over decades, and commitments honored not because they're profitable, but because they matter deeply on a personal level. Lucia, a Capricorn surgeon, echoed this sentiment from a different angle. "My colleagues sometimes think I'm cold because I'm so methodical in my approach to patient care. What they don't understand is that being methodical is how I show I care. Emotion without precision doesn't save lives. My precision is my compassion." This reframing reveals how Capricorns often express their deepest feelings through their actions rather than their words, a love language many fail to recognize. The fifth misunderstanding centers on the Capricorns' need for control, perhaps their most visible and frequently criticized trait. They are the planners, the organizers, the ones insisting on detailed itineraries and contingency plans. This tendency is often misinterpreted as a desire to dominate or micromanage, when in reality, it stems from a much more vulnerable place, a profound fear of chaos and its potential consequences. Michael's story illuminates this dynamic perfectly. As a Capricorn event planner, his attention to detail was legendary. Some clients found it reassuring while others found it excessive. "What no one knows," he shared during our interview, "is that my childhood was complete unpredictability. We never knew if the electricity would stay on, if there would be food, if we'd have to move in the middle of the night. Planning isn't about controlling others for me. It's about creating the stability I never had." This pattern repeated across dozens of Capricorn interviews. Their need for control isn't about power, it's about protection. It's about creating safe harbors in a world they've often experienced as fundamentally unstable. When they insist on checking the reservations twice or confirming the details repeatedly, they're not displaying a lack of trust in others, but rather acting out a deeply ingrained survival mechanism. The sixth misunderstanding reveals perhaps the most fascinating Capricorn paradox. They simultaneously embody profound traditionalism and surprising innovation. Most people perceive Capricorns as rigid conventionalists, resistant to change and wedded to established methods. This perception captures only half the truth. What makes Capricorns truly unique is their ability to revolutionize systems from within, respecting their foundations while completely reimagining their futures. Eliza's career in publishing demonstrates this dual nature perfectly. As a senior editor at a prestigious but struggling literary press, she was initially viewed as the guardian of old-fashioned traditions, insisting on maintaining editorial standards and quality control processes when others pushed for quick commercial fixes. Yet while preserving these core values, she simultaneously spearheaded the company's digital transformation, creating innovative subscription models and interactive reading experiences that saved the company and reinvented its future. I don't see tradition and innovation as opponents, Eliza explained. I see tradition as the sturdy vessel that can safely carry innovation forward. Without the vessel, new ideas just spill everywhere and evaporate. Without the new ideas, the vessel sails in circles, going nowhere. This metaphor captures the Capricorn approach perfectly. They don't discard the past to embrace the future. They build the future on the foundation the past provides. This balanced perspective makes Capricorns uniquely effective as leaders and change agents, though often misunderstood by both progressives, who view them as too traditional, and conservatives, who fail to recognize their innovative streak. They occupy a rare middle ground, understanding that the most sustainable transformations honor what came before while boldly creating what comes next. A Capricorn architect named Julian put it beautifully. I study buildings that have stood for centuries to understand what makes them endure, then use those principles to design structures that couldn't have been imagined by previous generations. The past doesn't limit my creativity. It informs it. This approach, respecting history while refusing to be confined by it, represents Capricorn at its most powerful and least understood. These three dimensions of misunderstanding, the hidden emotional drivers behind Capricorn decision-making, the protective rather than power-seeking nature of their need for control, and their unique integration of tradition and innovation, help explain why this sign remains so enigmatic. They operate according to principles that often remain invisible to those around them, creating a persistent perception gap between who they truly are and how they're understood by others. The Capricorn experience is one of knowing they're frequently misread, yet rarely feeling compelled to correct these misperceptions. Their focus remains fixed on the mountain ahead, leaving others to make what they will of the climber's journey. The seventh misunderstanding takes us deeper into the psychological landscape of Capricorn. Their relentless perfectionism, often misinterpreted as a desperate bid for external validation or approval. This common misconception completely misses the internal nature of the Capricorn standards. Their perfectionism isn't a performance for an audience, it's adherence to a private code that exists whether anyone is watching or not. Olivia's story vividly illustrates this distinction. As a Capricorn ceramicist, she created pieces that collectors and galleries fought over. Yet she maintained a shelf in her studio filled with works she'd never sell or show, pieces that appeared flawless to anyone else, but failed to meet her own exacting standards. "People think I'm trying to impress others," she said, running her fingers along a bowl with an imperceptible flaw. "But I'd still make these exactly the same way if I were the last person on earth. It's not about what others think, it's about what I know." This internalized perfectionism creates a curious dynamic where Capricorns often seem immune to both criticism and praise. External opinions simply don't register with the same weight as their own assessment. When Benjamin, a Capricorn writer, received a scathing review alongside glowing ones, colleagues were surprised by his equanimity. "The positive reviews didn't mention the structural issues I know exist in Chapter 3, he explained, and the negative review focused on stylistic preferences rather than actual flaws. Neither perspective was as accurate as my own evaluation." This self-referential standard setting can make Capricorns appear arrogant, when in reality, they're simply operating according to a detailed internal blueprint that others can't see. Their perfectionism isn't about being better than others. It's about meeting a vision they hold that's often far more demanding than any external expectation could be. The eighth misunderstanding centers on perhaps the most visible Capricorn trait, their legendary work ethic. The prevailing interpretation sees Capricorns as status-obsessed workaholics, grinding away for career advancement, material wealth, or professional recognition. This superficial reading misses the profound truth that most Capricorns are working toward a vision of freedom that lies far beyond immediate rewards. Nathaniel's journey embodies this long-term perspective. As a Capricorn entrepreneur, he puzzled friends by turning down lucrative opportunities that would have brought immediate payoffs in favor of building a slower-growing business with less glamorous prospects. They thought I was crazy to work 100-hour weeks on something that wasn't making me rich right away, he reflected. What they didn't see was that I was building something I would fully own, that could eventually run without me. I wasn't working for money, I was working for independence. This pattern emerged consistently in our research. Unlike signs that work for immediate gratification or tangible rewards, Capricorns are playing a longer game. They're willing to endure greater hardships and delays because their eyes remain fixed on a distant prize others can't visualize, often a form of freedom that's deeply personal to them. For some, it's financial independence. For others, creative autonomy. For still others, the freedom to structure their own time or make impact on their own terms. Sophia, a Capricorn professor who declined prestigious positions at elite universities to build her own research institute, explained it this way. People saw me turning down status and security. What they didn't understand was that I was choosing something more valuable to me, the freedom to pursue research questions without institutional constraints. I worked harder for less recognition because I knew where it was leading, to intellectual freedom no traditional position could offer. This misunderstanding creates a peculiar disconnect where Capricorns are often advised to work less or enjoy life more by well-meaning observers who fundamentally misread their motivations. What looks like joyless toil to others is often purposeful sacrifice to a Capricorn, temporary discomfort on the path to a freedom more meaningful than momentary pleasure. The ninth misunderstanding touches on perhaps the most overlooked dimension of the Capricorn personality, their surprisingly spiritual nature, hidden beneath practical exteriors. The conventional wisdom paints Capricorns as materialistic realists, concerned only with tangible results and measurable outcomes. This assessment completely misses their unique approach to spirituality, one grounded in the physical world rather than transcending it. Alexander, a Capricorn artisan woodworker, expressed this beautifully. People are surprised when they discover my workshop is also my spiritual practice, he shared. They expect spirituality to look like meditation or prayer. For me, it's in the transformation of raw materials, in bringing order from chaos, in creating objects that will outlive me. My hands know truths, my mind is still learning. This embodied spirituality, finding the sacred through interaction with the material world, represents a Capricorn approach to meaning that goes largely unrecognized. Isabella, a Capricorn conservationist, described a similar experience. When I'm restoring an ecosystem, tracking the return of species that had disappeared, I'm experiencing something profoundly spiritual. It's not separate from science or practical work. It's expressed through it. My spirituality has soil under its fingernails. This integration of the spiritual and practical allows Capricorns to find profound meaning without ever appearing to seek it in conventional ways. This misunderstanding creates an unfortunate perception gap where Capricorns are often seen as one-dimensional materialists by those seeking meaning through more recognized spiritual paths. In reality, many Capricorns experience a deep sense of purpose and connection precisely through their engagement with the physical world, building, growing, preserving, and transforming in ways that transcend the merely practical. Vincent, a Capricorn urban planner, put it succinctly, I don't need to leave the world to find meaning. I find it by improving the world. Every accessible playground, every affordable housing unit, every restored historic building is my form of prayer. My spirituality isn't about escaping reality, it's about perfecting it. This perspective, finding transcendence through engagement rather than withdrawal, represents a spiritual path as valid as any other, yet one rarely recognized as such. These three dimensions, perfectionism driven by internal rather than external standards, work motivated by a distant vision of freedom rather than immediate rewards, and spirituality expressed through practical mastery rather than transcendence, offer crucial insights into the Capricorn psyche. Together they reveal a sign much richer and more nuanced than commonly understood, operating according to principles that often remain invisible to casual observers. The 10th misunderstanding about Capricorns strikes at the heart of how they approach relationships. Widely perceived as self-sufficient loners who need little social connection, Capricorns are frequently mischaracterized as emotionally independent to the point of detachment. This superficial reading misses a profound truth. Capricorns deeply crave meaningful connection. They simply define and pursue it differently than most. Amelia's story illuminates this subtle distinction. As a Capricorn researcher working in remote field locations, colleagues assumed her comfort with solitude meant she had little need for connection. "People see me happily working alone for weeks and think I don't need relationships," she explained during a rare moment of openness. "What they don't see are the 5 people I've maintained close friendships with for over 20 years. I write them detailed letters from every field site. Those few relationships sustain me more than dozens of casual connections ever could." This quality over quantity approach to relationships appears consistently across Capricorn experiences. They're architects of selective intimacy, building fewer bridges to others, but ensuring those bridges are masterfully constructed and built to last. This selective approach often gets misread as coldness or disinterest, when it actually reflects a different relationship economy, one that invests deeply in carefully chosen connections rather than broadly in many. Sebastian, a Capricorn composer, described this dynamic in musical terms. "People mistake me for a soloist when I'm actually playing chamber music. I don't need a full orchestra of relationships, but the few instruments I do play with need to create perfect harmony." This metaphor captures the Capricorn approach beautifully. They're not avoiding the concert. They're just highly selective about which musical conversations they join. The 11th misunderstanding concerns how Capricorns approach emotional vulnerability. Their cautious, gradual unfolding is frequently misinterpreted as emotional unavailability or even coldness. This assessment fundamentally misreads their motivations. Their careful approach to revealing themselves isn't about emotional incapacity, but about emotional self-protection, a response to a sensitivity few recognize beneath their composed exterior. Celeste's experience provides a window into this hidden dimension. As a Capricorn therapist, she guided others through emotional terrain with remarkable skill, yet colleagues noted how little she revealed about herself. "There's an assumption that I'm withholding because I'm uncomfortable with emotions," she reflected. "The truth is almost the opposite. I feel things with such intensity that I've learned to be careful about where and with whom I share them. My emotional life isn't smaller than others. If anything, it's so vast that I've had to build careful containers for it." This pattern of profound sensitivity beneath protective layers emerged repeatedly in our research. Many Capricorns described experiencing emotions with unexpected intensity, feeling grief, love, or disappointment with a depth that felt overwhelming without careful management. Their cautious approach to vulnerability isn't emotional immaturity, but rather a sophisticated response to their particular emotional landscape. Daniel, a Capricorn architect, shared a metaphor that captures this dynamic. "I've designed my emotional life like a Japanese garden, appearing simple and restrained on the surface, but actually arranged with enormous care and intention. What looks like emotional minimalism to others is actually highly curated emotional expression. Not everyone gets invited into the garden, and that's by design." The 12th and final misunderstanding illuminates perhaps the most fascinating Capricorn paradox. Their reputation for rigidity exists alongside an extraordinary capacity for personal reinvention. The conventional wisdom sees Capricorns as fixed and unchanging, resistant to transformation. This perception entirely misses their unique relationship with change, one characterized not by resistance, but by methodical, profound evolution that often goes unnoticed until complete. Helena's life journey exemplifies this transformative capacity. Meeting her now as a celebrated documentary filmmaker focusing on social justice, few would imagine her previous 20-year career as a corporate tax attorney. "People assume I've always been this person because the change wasn't dramatic or sudden," she explained. "I didn't have a crisis or epiphany. I systematically rebuilt myself one decision at a time, keeping what worked from my old life while growing into something new. By the time anyone noticed I had changed, the transformation was already complete." This pattern of methodical metamorphosis appeared consistently among Capricorns who had undergone significant life changes. Unlike signs that change through dramatic ruptures or visible rebellions, Capricorns transform through sustained, often private reconstruction, maintaining external stability while completely rewiring their internal architecture. The mountain goat doesn't leap dramatically to a new peak. It finds a careful path upward that others rarely notice until the ascent is complete. Marco, who transitioned from orthodox religious leader to celebrated secular humanist author over a decade, described this Capricornian approach to change. I didn't publicly renounce or reject my past. I evolved through careful study, reflection, and gradual shifts in direction. The outside world saw continuity where I was experiencing profound transformation. By maintaining certain external constants, I created safe space for my internal revolution. This capacity for reinvention without rupture represents a uniquely Capricornian strength, the ability to honor their past while refusing to be limited by it. It also explains why they are so frequently misunderstood. Their transformations happen below the visible surface, emerging fully formed rather than playing out as public spectacles of change. As our exploration of the Capricorn psyche concludes, a more nuanced portrait emerges, one of a sign whose depth and complexity consistently defies simple categorization. Their selective approach to intimacy, their protective response to emotional sensitivity, and their capacity for methodical reinvention reveal a sign much richer and more dynamic than commonly portrayed. Perhaps the greatest misunderstanding of all is the tendency to see Capricorns as simple or straightforward. In reality, they contain multitudes: practical dreamers, traditional innovators, private revolutionaries navigating the world according to maps only they can fully read. Their mystery isn't accidental but essential to who they are. Beings who understand that the most precious aspects of ourselves are often best kept partially hidden, revealed only to those who demonstrate the patience and perception to truly see them. For those willing to invest the time and attention required to understand a Capricorn, the reward is extraordinary: connection with a being of remarkable depth, integrity, and complexity. Like the mountains that symbolize them, Capricorns may appear unmovable and unchanging on first glance, but a closer look reveals entire ecosystems of life, hidden caves, underground rivers, and paths to summits offering views few will ever be privileged to witness. Throughout our cosmic exploration of the Capricorn enigma, we've uncovered 12 fundamental reasons why this powerful Earth sign remains so widely misunderstood. We've seen how the apparent simplicity of the Capricorn exterior conceals profound emotional depths, like an iceberg revealing only its tip to casual observers. We've discovered how their ambitious drive exists alongside private insecurities, creating a complex internal landscape that fuels their relentless pursuit of excellence, but rarely allows them to celebrate their achievements. We've decoded their dry, deadpan humor that often flies over the heads of those around them, leading to the misconception that Capricorns lack wit or lightness. We've illuminated how their seemingly cold decision-making actually flows from deep wells of loyalty that inform every choice they make. Their need for control, so often misinterpreted as power-seeking, revealed itself as a protective mechanism born from intimate knowledge of life's unpredictability. We've witnessed the fascinating paradox of Capricorns as simultaneous traditionalists and innovators, respecting established systems while quietly revolutionizing them from within. Their perfectionism, frequently dismissed as external validation seeking, emerged as adherence to internal standards invisible to others, but vitally important to the Capricorn sense of integrity. The renowned Capricorn work ethic, commonly reduced to status seeking or materialism, revealed itself as something far more profound: a sustained effort toward distant freedom that requires temporary sacrifice. Their practical nature, often interpreted as spiritual absence, instead showed itself as a unique form of embodied spirituality expressed through mastery of the material world. We've discovered how their apparent self-sufficiency masks a deep desire for meaningful connection, cultivated selectively and with intention. Their cautious approach to vulnerability, frequently misread as emotional unavailability, emerged as a sophisticated response to surprising emotional sensitivity. Finally, we uncovered their remarkable capacity for personal reinvention, not through dramatic rupture, but through methodical evolution that often goes unnoticed until complete. This more nuanced understanding of Capricorn reveals not just a sign, but a way of being in the world, one characterized by depth, integrity, and a wisdom that transcends simple categorization. For those with Capricorns in their lives, this exploration offers invaluable insights into connecting more meaningfully with these complex individuals. For Capricorns themselves, perhaps it provides the rare experience of feeling truly seen. The journey we've taken through the Capricorn psyche represents exactly what we strive to provide at Secret of the Zodiac: astrological insights that go beyond superficial traits to reveal the profound psychological and spiritual dimensions of each sign. We believe astrology at its best offers not just entertainment, but a language for understanding human complexity, a framework for developing greater empathy and self-awareness. If you found value in this deeper exploration of Capricorn, we invite you to become part of our cosmic community by subscribing to Secret of the Zodiac. With new videos released every week diving into the mysteries of each zodiac sign, you'll gain insights that transform how you understand both yourself and the people in your life. The subscribe button below is your portal to ongoing astrological wisdom delivered directly to your feed. We also encourage you to explore our existing library of videos, from detailed sign analyses to compatibility guides, transit forecasts, to ancient astrological wisdom adapted for modern life. Each video offers the same depth and nuance you've experienced here, moving beyond horoscope cliches to astrological understanding that actually makes a difference in how you navigate your life. Your engagement fuels our ability to create this content. Please take a moment to like this video, helping others discover these insights, and share your thoughts in the comment section. We're particularly interested in hearing from Capricorns about whether these observations resonate with your experience, and from others about how this exploration has changed your understanding of the Capricorns in your life. Right? I finally understand Capricorns. If this video has given you new insights, or share the specific revelation that most surprised you. For those who find particular value in our work and wish to support its continuation, we invite you to use the Super Thanks feature. Your financial support directly enables us to invest in research, production quality, and daily content creation. The costs of maintaining a channel dedicated to astrological depth rather than superficial entertainment are substantial, and your contributions make it possible for us to continue bringing you content that goes beyond the surface level found elsewhere. Together, we're building a community of astrological thinkers who understand that the stars offer not just entertainment, but profound wisdom about the human experience. Thank you for joining us on this cosmic journey through the fascinating, complex, and frequently misunderstood world of Capricorn. Until our paths cross again in the next video, keep looking to the stars for answers. But remember to look beyond their surface to the deeper patterns they reveal.